Hi everyone, this is Miss J, and today I bring you our last video for the 2019-2020 school year, which is honestly unbelievable. I don't think any of us would have thought that this is how we would be closing off the year. It also looked like something that was really far away, and the day has come. This is a very hard video for me to make. I'm not very good at farewells. Some of you might remember from last year how I low-key cried a little bit on our last day of school, even though it was only, a goodbye for the summer. So it is this one. Hopefully, we'll see each other next year, or September rather, because next year makes it sound like it's gonna be 2021. Um, so yeah, I'm not gonna cry this time around. This is one of the very few positives of doing this via video is that you, yeah, I'm not gonna cry because I don't have you in front of me. I probably would if I had you in front of me, to be honest, because I miss you so much, and I'm gonna miss you all so much this summer. Remember, you're the first thing that I think about when I get up in the morning, and the last thing that I think about when I go to bed at night. Yeah, I always wonder how you're doing. How was your day? What are you learning? Are you showing your best somebody's? All those things I think about whether if I'm at school or if I'm not at school. So just know that your teacher will miss you. Um, yeah. So that aside, I really have a special task for you this week because it's our last week. I want you to do two master lists. Um, the first one, I want you to make a list of all the things that you are excited about to do this summer. Hi everyone, Editing Miss J here. I meant things you're excited about doing this summer. Had a little bit of a grammar slip there. And I want you to think about things that you can do at home in case the shelter in place is still up. I want you to think of things that you might want to do when, social distancing is a little bit eased up here in the res. I want you to think about, just things that you're excited about for the summer because summer is a fun time and yeah, it's important to have things to look forward to. And the second list is a list about all the things that you can do today, tomorrow, day after. Doesn't matter if it's, if we're still sheltering in place, doesn't matter if we're in lockdown again. I want you to think of things that you can do right now to make your day a little bit better, to make someone else's day a little bit better. Because it is very easy for all of us to, feel overwhelmed um, with this situation. It's been a long time already that we've had to shelter in place. This is hard on everybody. And it has changed our lives. That's definitely not what we were used to doing. And that can make us feel powerless. So it's important to remember that all of us have power. We can do things, we have choices. Um, so, yeah, remember that showing your best somebody is not about behaving in class. It's not only about that. You are resilient, you are respectful, you are present and loved and loving. You're all of these great things. Shelter in place or no shelter in place. At school, at home, outside. Doesn't matter. You are all those great things. So, yeah, think about ways that you can show that to the people around you during this tough time. As a way to close up this year, given that we can't have a water balloon fight or a water bucket fight, or we can do those things. Sadly, because we're not together. I still want this to be a celebration of all the hard work that you've done and all the growth that you've shown throughout all the year. That doesn't, the last few months doesn't make all that effort and all that hard work go away. So I know it's not the same type of celebration, obviously, but I thought it would be nice to do one last read aloud. But this time around, I bring you something that has no work attached to it. I'm gonna read this book, which is one of my favorite read aloud books, just because it's fun, just because I like it. Gift Horse, a Lakota story by S.D. Nelson. I have a picture of this book in our library, in our wall. I really, really love this book. It is actually, fun fact, the first, oh, sorry, Claire. It's the first S.D. Nelson book that I've ever read was Gift Horse. I really like it. I love the pictures. I love reading it over and over. I'm very glad that I brought this book and all the books that I've been able to read to you um, from our classroom. I will be bringing them back to the classroom when we, tidy up the room and stuff. But yeah, I'm very happy that I've got to enjoy it for some time at home. And I've probably read it like 10 times in the last few weeks. So I'm going to read it one more time aloud. I'm going to show you the pictures. And we're just going to enjoy reading together because reading is fun. Gift Horse, a Lakota story. The thing I remember most from my early days is a horse, a gift horse. My father had been away visiting and trading with our friends, the Cheyenne. When he came home, he rode into camp with some new horses trailing behind him, and our whole village turned out to welcome him. Singling out a pony, he called to me. This, my son, is the horse for a boy who's becoming a man, and a Lakota warrior, he said. As the young horse came forward, he nickered and stamped her hooves. She tossed back her head and perked up her ears. She was the blue-gray color of a thunderstorm, and her back was a blur of white spots like hailstones raining down. I named my horse Storm. The Great Spirit, who's in all things, had already painted her like a summer hailstorm. With mixed paints, I added yellow thunderbolts and placed a red handprint on her hip. I circled her eye with a red band so she would see straight and true. Finally, I tied eagle feathers in her flowing mane. We spent all our days together. I was already a good rider, but on Storm I became like the wind. Across the wide open prairie we rode, beneath an endless sky of blue. People said the dust we stir up looked like a flying cloud on the earth, and so they began to call me Flying Cloud. There were many games we boys played on horseback. We practiced with our bows and arrows. We wrestled. Sometimes we played rough and were knocked from our horses. I always climbed right back on Storm. This was good training for us because when we became Lakota warriors, we would need to defend our people from our enemies. Also, we needed to become successful buffalo hunters. If we failed at hunting the buffalo, our people might starve to death during the bitter cold of winter. Early one morning, I sneaked out of my family's teepee and rode far away from camp. I knew I was not supposed to go, but I wanted to prove that I can hunt as well as any man. At first, the snow covered ground made the fresh deer tracks easy to follow. But then, north wind began to blow. I dismounted for a closer look. Suddenly, 3 deer appeared. I shot one of my arrows, but my fingers were cold, and I missed. Soon, the gusting wind turned into a raging prairie blizzard. Storm whinnied and nudged me from behind. Her eyes held a look I've never seen before: fear. So this is them playing. There's a storm, flying cloud in the middle of the blizzard. My fingers were numb from cold, but somehow I managed to mount Storm. The snow was blowing so hard that I could not see my hand in front of my face. "We are lost!" I shouted. I wrapped my arms around my horse's neck. She was warm, just like my parents' teepee. "Storm, take us home," I cried. Together, we trudged into the darkness of the blizzard. We wandered for a long, long time. I was freezing and ready to give up when I noticed that Storm had stopped. There before us was my family's teepee. Storm had brought us home. She had saved my life. That blizzard taught me to think before acting. My mother saw that I had learned an important lesson. She told me that I was becoming a man and that I would soon be ready to wear the shirt of a warrior. She promised to make one decorated with beadwork and porcupine quills. But I would have to collect the quills. After many days of hunting, I finally found a porcupine. He was bristling with sharp spines. I could have killed him with one of my stone-tipped arrows, but I only needed some of his quills. I threw a small blanket across his back. When I pulled it away, the cloth was filled with a forest of quills. Before my mother could use the quills, she first had to make the shirt. The women and girls of our tribe tanned the animal hides that the hunters brought back to camp. They stitched them together to make many things, including all of our clothing and the lodgeskins for our teepees. That spring, when the little green growing things began to show themselves, my mother and sister began sewing a warrior's shirt for me. They used a fine antelope hide and decorated it with beads and the porcupine quills. So there's this flying cloud. Glare. There's this flying cloud collecting the quills. And this is the shirt being made by his mom and his sister. Also, that spring, to prepare me for becoming a warrior, my father took me into the sweat lodge with him. I sat in a circle with the men of my tribe. Several large stones, which had been heated in a fire, were brought in and placed in a pit in the center of the lodge. The buffalo skin door flap was closed, and darkness surrounded us. Old Yellow Bear, the medicine man of our tribe, used a turtle shell to pour water over the glowing stones. They hissed and spat. Steam filled the lodge. In the darkness, the men began to sing ancient songs that I had never heard before. It was so hot that sweat flowed down all over my body. I felt wonderfully clean. Yellow Bear told me that I was now ready to go on a journey of the spirit, a vision quest. I spent 4 days alone, praying on a distant hillside, without food and water. Sleeping under the stars, I felt the pain of hunger and was very thirsty. I missed Storm. Each day I prayed to Father Sun and Sister Moon and to the star people. I asked the Great Spirit to teach me the lessons that would make me a strong and good person. On the third night, a vision came to me. All of the four-legged creatures like deer, coyote, and buffalo are my brothers. I saw that all of the winged creatures like hawk and hummingbird are my sisters. I dreamed that, along with all of these creatures, we two-legged beings danced together in the circle of life. It was time to return to my village. My vision quest was over, and I had taken another step toward becoming a man. But I still had not earned the right to wear the shirt of the Lakota warrior. On the prairie, there was as many buffalo as there are leaves on a tree. My father told me there was no greater honor than providing meat and buffalo robes for our people. The time had come for me to join the men of my tribe in the hunt. I remember how the earth shook under the stampeding hoofs. My stomach was upside down with fear and excitement. Then Storm drew up alongside a large bull, and for a moment we were galloping together. I shot my arrows, and they flew straight and true. Suddenly, before me, a huge buffalo lifted a horse and rider into the air. The bull turned them over onto the earth. The terrified horse bolted away, and I knew the angry buffalo would attack the helpless man. Turning Storm, I galloped to the rescue. We rode up just as the bull charged. With one hand, I grasped Storm's neck, and with the other, I reached out. Using all of my strength, I swung the man up behind me, and we rode to safety. Later, as I stood over my first buffalo, I was so proud I howled like a wolf. I knelt down by my buffalo brother and thanked him for giving us his life so that my people could eat. I thanked him for his hide and told him it would make a fine robe to keep us warm in the cold of winter. So this is Flying Cloud saving the man and with his first buffalo. We cut up the meat and wrapped it in the buffalo hides. Everyone helped, men, women, and children. We loaded the bundles onto pony drags and hauled them all back to our village. As we traveled, my people made up a song. They sang about how a horse named Storm and a boy called Flying Cloud had rescued a fallen warrior from a charging buffalo. My father told me I had a courageous heart. He said that I was not longer a boy. But I was not yet a man either. There was one more thing I needed to do. I had to face the enemy with the heart of a warrior. That night, we celebrated with a great feast and a buffalo dance. Many tribes lived on the Great Plains. Some of them, like the Cheyenne, were our friends, but others, like the Crow, were our enemies. Early one morning, while we still slept, Crow horse thieves attacked. I woke up to shouting and the pounding of hoofs. Most of our horses were stolen. That morning, as the sun rose in the east, angry tears filled my eyes. How could those thieves dare to steal my precious storm? We put together our own raiding party. Our men planned to get back all our horses and punish the thieves by stealing as many crow ponies as possible. We traveled on foot, following the trail left by our stolen horses. I prayed to the Great Spirit to return Storm safely to me. Days later, we reached the Crow village. The sky was growing dark, and a fierce thunderstorm was coming up. At first, I was afraid that the storm would ruin our rescue effort, but then I thought of my storm and knew that the Great Spirit was answering my prayer. The thunder beings beat their thunder drums overhead and threw spears of lightning to the earth. Rain poured down, soaking us to the bone, but allowing us to sneak up on our enemies. West wind roared in the treetops as we drew near our beloved horses. The men from my tribe dashed to the rescue. Hail pelted my face and shoulders. Lightning flashed as bright as day. In the glare, I saw my storm and the crow warrior who stood guarding her. Thunder pounded overhead. I prayed for courage and raced to my horse. Lightning flashed again as I knocked over the crow guard and jumped up on Storm. With my fingers clutching her mane, we disappeared into the wild night. I felt a crow arrow whiz past my ear, but I never looked back. Yelping like a coyote, I helped chase the entire horse herd back home. The night was a great victory for our warriors. I'm trying to put it in a way that I don't glare at you. Hopefully you've been able to see all the pictures. Upon our return, I was given the shirt of a Lakota warrior. To my surprise, on the front, my mother and sister had quilled the beautiful image of my best friend. In the years that followed, Storm and I shared many adventures, too many to tell. And so, with my gift horse, I rode from boyhood into manhood. The one thing I will never forget from my early days, so long ago, is the horse with eagle feathers tied in her mane, and the red handprint of a boy. I can still see the two of us riding across the endless prairies of our youth, like a hailstorm and a flying cloud. This is the end of Gift Horse, and I know that some of you have heard it multiple times, but I really do love this story. It's it's the end. I'm, as I said, not very good with farewells. I get emotional. So I've been a little bit more nervous than usual. I was not expecting that. But yeah, I will, leave the Google Classroom open. So if you want to send me a message or something, you can do it that way. You can do it through Facebook Messenger or Facebook, email, all of my contact information that you've been having with the packets. So yeah, I'm starting to, I don't know if you can feel it in my voice, but I'm starting to get a very graspy voice. That's because I'm getting a little emotional again. So this is where this is gonna end. I love you all so very much, and we'll see each other at the start of the new year. Bye, everyone. Have a great summer.